Celina Pompeani here with Bob Pompeani, a.k.a. my dad. Great to have you here.
Nice to have an opportunity to speak with you on your podcast here, Celina. What a beautiful surrounding. It's really magnificent.
It's amazing. We're so happy to have him finally here at From the Top, presented by Armina Stone. This has been in the works for a few months, and we finally nailed the date down.
It's hard during football season, and we're in that right now for us. We have a lot of stuff at KDK TV that we do, and so it occupies a lot of time. And luckily, I have a wife, Lisa. Hi.
Hey, Mom.
She's great about handling everything, so I don't have to at home.
That's true. Wow, we're so happy that you're here today. And, you know, a lot of people, I'm sure, have heard of, know my dad. He's been in the business forever. You're approaching your 40th year, right? At KDKA
You make me
TV.
sound really old, which of course I probably am. But yes, next year would be my 40th year on one station. It's the only station I've ever worked for. So I think that's kind of an interesting distinction that I don't think many people, and I'm proud of that because I've been able to be there, and you know, it's been a wonderful ride for me for sure with KDK TV.
That's true. Usually, you know, and a lot of people who I graduated with, I look at some of my friends in the industry, and they've usually have to jump from market to market. You start small like I did in Steubenville, Ohio, and then you work your way up to a bigger market. But you started here in Pittsburgh. So for those who don't know, tell us about your career, how you got started.
I got started by bribing one of the guys I know by bringing donuts and pizza to his house. And I left a note and said, hey, I'm interested in getting involved. This was a radio station back in the day in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. But anyway, that was a good opportunity for me to do a lot of play-by-play and things that you really need to do as an up-and-coming kind of broadcaster. You know, you have to get experience, and it's hands-on experience. So I did a thing called a sports fantasy at KDK. They had and I was like 19 years old, 18 years old. I forget how old.
Wow, while at Point Park.
I just started at Point Park, and I said I'd love to do that because I think that's my fantasy. That's my goal, to be on television doing sports. So I did. And I got an opportunity. They chose me. I did a nice thing, got to meet people there. Then I applied for internships, got internships, which are very important for those young people out there trying to do this. I think it's important to get all the hands-on experience you can. And I did, and I was hired there out of my internship. But going to Point Park University helped me because it was close to town. I had gone to Penn State, transferred after 2 years, and it was good for me to, you know, because you make contacts, you do the things you have to do to try to get an opportunity. Opportunities are there, but they're not given to you. You got to go and earn them. And so I took it, I got hired, and I've been there ever since.
Well, you've always loved sports, and you knew you wanted to be in sports ever since you were young, but you knew at some point, because of events that happened, that you couldn't play professionally. What happened? You know, many people don't know your history and what you went through, your medical history.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was expecting to be a golfer. I mean, I thought Pompeani was a really hard name for people to remember, so I had it abbreviated. I was going to be Bobby Gregg, because Gregg is my middle name, G-R-E-G-G, and that would have been a good golf name. But then I played baseball, but golf was my primary thing, and I was pretty good. I was #1 on the Hopewell golf team, trying to get a scholarship just to help my mom and dad out. But then I knew something was wrong. I had some irregular heartbeat going on. So I got it checked, and it turned out that I had rheumatic heart disease, which affected my valves. I had no idea. I mean, it didn't affect me to the point where I was
and you were
in bed.
young.
Yeah, I was 17 years old. So I needed open heart surgery for the first of 2 times when I was 18. And, you know, back then, they do it differently. You know, they cut your sternum, and it's a big process. You know, the advances in medicine have changed that so that it's a lot easier. It's still major surgery when they're dealing with your heart and your valves and everything, but that I had, you know, strep throat. It started with strep throat. So anybody out there who has kids, young kids, make sure if you have a strep throat, get it cultured, looked at, because it can do damage to your heart valves. So mine were damaged. I had to get them replaced at 18 and again at 25. But once that happened, I couldn't play or do anything competitively. Mm-hmm. So my dad your grandfather, told me, why don't you concentrate on sports if you're so into sports? I said, well, yeah, I'd love to do that, but what should I do? And he channel your energies in a different direction. And it turned out for me, just getting involved in broadcasting. So it was probably God's way of saying, you're not that good, my son. I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to go into a different direction. And now I look back, it was fine. So maybe, he was the one in charge.
Well, so for all of the years that you've been at KDKA TV now, and you do a lot of other things too. You're on The Fan every Saturday, the Bob Pompeani radio show, Pomp and Pony. You have your own podcast. You're on Mondays with Cook and Joe. So you're doing a little bit of everything, and you have a crazy schedule. You've always worked the opposite schedule of me, especially when I used to do mornings. You usually go in 2:30, 3 o'clock, and you're working through midnight. So how was that your whole life, especially with, Mommy, with me and Chelsea as young girls? A lot of people will say to me, was your dad ever around? Was he ever at, your high school musicals or, dance competitions? And you always made a way there. And so it felt like you were always there, even with your schedule.
I had to be there. I didn't want to miss this stuff, but I had to, you have to run here, run there, get back, because it's a different schedule than most people have. And, my day starts typically at about 1 in the afternoon, goes to, 12:30 at night. So I get home, I'm all jacked up. I can't fall asleep until 3. So
the chips come out.
When you were doing the morning traffic on KDK, I could always text you because I was up. I wanted to make sure you got up. And I'm thinking, make sure you get up now. This is your, I'm basically your alarm. But
it was good when I lived at home. You had to call, he called my roommate Renee one time. Remember that?
She wasn't answering. So I said, Renee, wake her up, please. Get her out of bed.
Good thing Renee woke up.
So, no, but that schedule is a tough one. It's different. And so you're working nights mostly. Sports developments happen at night throughout the course of a day. So that's just the way it is. And I've been used to it. And like I said, your mother's great. Lisa's about taking care of everything. It took a lot of pressure off me, so I knew you guys were in good hands.
Oh, yeah. Well, what are some of your best memories, from the time you first started to even up until now? I know you've covered most of the big events, not only in Pittsburgh, but all over the country. So what are some of the big highlights?
Well, it's interesting because I've had a chance to cover, World Series, even though the Pirates weren't in it, championship games, Stanley Cup championships, Super Bowls, been to a few of those, obviously, with the Steelers, which were great. Long weeks of work, however. But I think one of the things that's high on my list is a trip to Nagano, Japan that we did for the 1998 Winter Olympics. And CBS at the time had the broadcast rights for it, so it made sense. It was one of the first years that NHL players were eligible to play. So that meant the Penguins had a big contingent of Czechoslovakian-born players. Jaromir Jagr, Marty Straka, Robert Lang, Yuri Slager. All of those guys went over there to play, as did other, Alexei Morozov, who used to play for the Penguins, play for Russia. So, we talked to our boss and said, this made sense. We can. It's going to be on our air anyway, even though the time difference is much, but we can be up close and personal with these guys, go there, do this. And so we did. And I learned a lot about bobsledding, luge.
Noodle eating,
soba.
Soba.
Yeah, all this stuff, these traditions and the Japanese culture was fabulous. The people were great. We were there for 42 days, did live just about every day. So it was a really fascinating experience. One, I was kind of I was a little apprehensive at the beginning because I thought, this is a whole different game. I've never done this, but it was fun.
What about the monkeys over there? I remember you have all kind of photos with the monkeys, but you can't look at them.
Yeah, they have this tradition. It's way up in the mountains of Hakuba, and it's called Japanese snow monkeys. And this is where they live, and they have this big pool that they kind of congregate. It's almost like a whirlpool for monkeys, and they're sitting back, and you can. But the trainer who was there, and I said, we want to do a story on that, so we went up. We had a hike up. It was really interesting and very fun. I was fatigued, however. I learned I was out of shape, so I had to change that. But you can give them apples, these monkeys, but you couldn't look into their eyes.
Ooh,
because
what happens?
they look at that as an attack on them, and so they attack you back. So it was hard not to look, trying to hand an apple. Then I'm wondering, should I do this? Does my health care cover this if something bad goes happening?
Oh, man.
So, no, it was one of the things. And the soba noodles, we went to an authentic Japanese restaurant over there where they soba noodles. And
you have to slurp.
You have to slurp. Slurping is a sign of gratitude. Like, this is wonderful. So normally when you go to a restaurant, you don't make noises, at least not around here. Over there.
Oh.
And
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry for soba noodles. Kelly, Where are there restaurants around here? We'll get something delivered. Well, you know, I think a lot of kids that I talk to, because I went to Point Park University as well, and I go back and speak a lot. You go back there a lot and speak about your career, but I try to give them the best advice that I can, and I've only been in the business, you know, this much of your career, so you have the best advice, and you've given me great advice over the years. For somebody who may be interested in getting into broadcasting or sports broadcasting, what's some big advice that you would tell them?
Well, it's changed a lot, obviously, with podcasts, with you know, all these different vehicles that you can get information. So I would say that, first of all, it's a fabulous way to spend a career because you're doing stuff that you love. And that's my first word of advice to anyone. Do what you love. If you don't, it'll be work. It'll be a hard life if you're doing something you really don't need, but you need to do it just to make money. Choose something that you love, work tirelessly at it. You know, you're going to have problems. Everyone does. You got to just get around them. You know, adversity makes you, I think. You have to learn how to deal with failure because it'll happen. Don't be afraid to fail, you know. There are things I've done on the air that I had to learn from real quickly. And otherwise,
me too.
Yeah, it just happens. So, but the number one advice I would give is do what you love, follow your passion, and discover what that is if you can at an early age. And in television, you know, it's about doing as many things as you can. You can learn to edit, you can learn to shoot, you can learn to, because that's what they're wanting now. People who can do multi-skilled things. So I think that's very important to do, and more hands-on experience is the best. That's why I always recommend internships. I think that's the way you can go to class, but also get hands-on in whatever it is you want to do.
Great advice. Well, a couple weeks ago we had Missy Matthews on, and you work with Missy as well.
The greatest.
We love Missy here, but we were talking all about the upcoming Steelers season, and I know you're busy year-round, but especially now with football season here. So I want to ask you your predictions and how everything's been going, because you've been calling the preseason games, which is a lot of work.
A lot of work, because we have double the roster size. I always kid people as saying by the fourth quarter we're talking about the future bartenders of America because a lot of those guys are going to be cut. But I still have to know a lot about. No, that's the reality. That's the reality of sports, you know. So you're going to make cuts, but it's a lot of work. But I love it because it's an opportunity to do something I truly love to do, which is play-by-play, and there are not that many opportunities out there. So yeah, but with the Steelers, I think you know, it all comes down to how they handle a young offensive line. When you think about it, there are 5 new starters along the offensive line. Rarely does that happen in football. You normally have some people carry over, you replace 1 or 2 guys. Well, they lost, you know, Ramon Foster, Alejandro Villanueva, Marquise Pouncey, and David DeCastro. So they were forced to really change things. How they go will determine how the Steelers go. If they're good, if they develop quicker than you think, with Najee Harris at running back and with a really good passing game, I think this team can surprise people. So that's what I'm hoping for. It may take a while. There are going to be some ups and downs, but you got to get through them.
And we also love the Riverhounds here at Armina Stone.
Unleash the Hounds.
Unleash the Hounds.
A team that's always competing for first place.
I know. Well, I know you're a big Riverhounds fan, too. What do you think about the soccer industry in Pittsburgh? I mean, it has grown a lot here. I think it's getting more popular. You could see more fans packing Highmark Stadium.
Well, I think, number one, it starts with an owner who's committed, and his name is Tuffy Schallenberger, and he's guy I've known for a long time, and he's a soccer fanatic, so he wanted to keep that going. Was instrumental in getting Highmark Stadium done, the funding for it with Allegheny Health Network and Highmark. And so, you know, that was a big step because it took it from a place where not many people can get to watch to right downtown Pittsburgh. We have a beautiful view of the city. So that was big. And you develop more fans as you go. I mean, it's not exactly a sport that I think Pittsburghers are going to follow originally until they do it. And I would always tell people, just go and experience it. You'd be surprised. I have the same advice for people who follow golf or don't understand golf. Go and learn a little bit.
I'm getting it now.
Yeah,
a little bit.
You got to keep your head down more. Don't sway. But that's another thing. So
that'll come in time.
That'll come
more
in time.
Practice.
Your future husband is wonderful golf, so he'll take care of you. Mac's great. But my point is, you got to experience it and learn everything. No matter what sport you start, there's a beginning. You learn about it, you understand it, how it plays out, and I think they have Bob Lilly's a really good coach over there. He's one of the best in the business, and I think when you have a coach like that, they identify talent, they bring it here, and it's a team that's going to compete every year.
Well, enough about sports and your career for now. also want to talk to you about Pittsburgh because we've lived here our whole lives. You were born in Hopewell. You know, we've never lived anywhere else. I've never wanted to move anywhere other than Pittsburgh. I love it here, and you love it here too. What are some of your favorite parts about the city?
Well, I love it here because I think it's a great place to raise a family. You can do it affordably and get a lot, you know, for whether it's your house, whether bang for your buck, and everything else. So that's what I like most about it. What I like is, you know, the ethnicity of it all. There are a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and that's what, you know, this country kind of stands for, is bringing people together. And I think in Pittsburgh you have sort of a melting pot of a lot of different kind of cultures, which is great. And the food is great. So I'm going to start with the food and say, because of, you have all different kinds of food options and choices. I like some of the smaller places. There's a friend of mine who used to have a place in Market Square called La Gondola. Sergio Muto, one of the best chefs out there, and the pandemic has changed that for him. But you know, you go and you get treated with a lot of just hospitality, and I just love that part of it. Plus, I also love the fact that it's a big city mentality. However, it's small enough to get around. You know, we're 20 minutes away from everything, which I think is great.
I know. It's so amazing here. I love it here. And, you know, a lot of people say to me, too, and I hear it all the time. I see it on Twitter, whether it's Twitter trolls or people emailing me that, oh, you know, you're just in this business, or you're just doing this or got this job because of your dad. But I don't know why I would not want to be like you. I've always wanted to be like you.
I would hope you'd raise your standards a little higher than me. But no, I appreciate that. I mean, your mother and I have tried to make a good example for you girls. The best thing you can do is, I thought Troy Polamalu had a great speech at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. One of the things he said that struck me, he said, he looked at his two young boys and he said, boys, the only thing I could tell you is the only thing I can do for you more than anything else is love your mother.
Yep.
And see, if you see things at home, I think it develops you as a person. You develop those habits, you watch. So I think it's important to set a good example. So hopefully we've done that to you guys.
You have.
But you know, the other thing, you talk about, you know, social media, you're going to get, no matter who you are, people are just going to do what they can.
That's true.
What have I always taught you about that kind of stuff?
Rise above. And I do. I always respond back with a nice note.
I always say kill them with kindness. I think that's the best way to go. I'm not going to get involved in a battle. I think some people like battles. I'm not a battle person in terms of that.
And usually they turn it around.
Yeah.
And they're on your side.
I just think that sometimes they just want to hear back. And if they do, for me, it's going to be positive, and I know it is from you.
Yep. Well, before we go, you mentioned Mac, my fiance, who is a great golfer, but you're a great golfer too. They go out together a lot, so you guys have fun together. But the wedding is coming up, and one of my thank you gifts, this is nothing. You need so much more for everything that you and Mommy and Chelsea are doing for the wedding, but is a dance lesson. So we've been taking dance lessons leading up to the big day because we have a little twist on our traditional father-daughter dance. So tell people who don't know what dancing means to you. You love to dance, and no matter what event or party we're at, he and my mom are out there all night.
Yeah, we do like to dance. It's a good expression. To me, it's the only exercise I'm probably going to get in the course of a day, so I better do something. And it's a good cardio workout. And listen, what camera am I looking to here? Because I'm going to talk to all the men out there. You need, this one, okay. You need to forget about what people think about you on the dance floor. I go to a lot of places, and dancing is, you know, so a lot of guys, I'm not so sure, I'm unsure of myself. Don't hold back. It doesn't matter what you do out there, just let it fly. You'll have a lot of fun, and I think people will think more of you if you do that. As far as our dance is concerned, I'm more of a freestyle thing. I like just dancing and moving whatever comes to my mind. And I've done some local competitions, which I like.
He's won all the local competitions.
Well, because I had good teachers and good instructors. And we have one now for this dance. This dance, however, I should tell you people, it's a little bit too provocative for me in terms of movement.
No.
I'm now older than I was when I competed.
No.
So you're testing me with moves that I may not be able to pull off.
It's a little hip-hop dance.
Yeah, it's the last thing I want to do is pull a groin at your wedding night and not be able to move. So
no, you know, we're going to have to play a clip after the wedding, after we get the video from the Berg brothers, so you guys can see it here.
We will.
It's going to be good.
I hope it's good.
I
hope I don't let you down, Celina.
Well, you love to sing, too. You dance, you sing, you play golf, you do it all. So we always end the show with a little singing, and it's only A little jingle.
A jingle. Yeah, I've heard the jingle before.
You know the jingle.
Okay, let's
so
do it.
we'll do it together. I'll count us down. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Ooh,
Amina Stone. Ooh,
Bad boy.
that was good. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.